From 12 stab wounds to a modeling career, the audacity of choosing joy after trauma. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with Shanté Green, a woman whose story will shake you, hold you, and ultimately remind you that your life is worth fighting for, no matter how dark it gets. Shanté Green is not just a survivor, she is a creator, a model, a musician, a mother, a fiance, and a living testament to the power of God's grace and the choice to heal actively, intentionally, and unapologetically. On March 12th, 2011, Shanti was stabbed 12 times by her ex partner. She lost 4.5 pints of blood. She had butcher knives in her back, and her babies were in the next room. But she fought, she survived, and today she's building a life so full of purpose, creativity, and love that it makes the enemy regret ever trying to take her out. Shantae's impact on the world is profound. She is proof that trauma does not get the final word. She is making the world a better place by showing Black women everywhere that they can survive the worst night of their lives and still build something beautiful, ambitious, and joyful. She is rewriting the narrative around what it means to be a Black woman who has been through violence. She is teaching us that softness, sensuality, creativity, and ambition are not just allowed after trauma, they are sacred acts of resistance. Let me be clear. This conversation is not just about trauma, it's about what happens after. It's about the audacity to choose therapy, the courage to get engaged, the boldness to chase dreams in content creation, modeling, and music. It's about entering your soft girl era, not because the world finally gave you permission, but because you decided your peace, your healing, and your joy are non negotiable. So let's talk about what Shantae taught me, what her story reveals about all of us, and why survival is just the beginning. Your life is worth fighting for, no matter how dark it gets. That's the first thing I need you to remember. Shantae's story is proof that even when death is literally at your back, you can still choose to fight, lean on God's grace, and survive. She was stabbed 12 times, lost half the blood in her body, and still said, I'm fighting for my life and my babies. That is not just survival, that is a declaration of war against anything trying to steal your future. And here's the thing, so many of us, especially Black women, have been taught to endure, to be strong, to keep the family together, to pray it away, to stand by our man, to protect the image, to not air dirty laundry. And while we're doing all that, we're bleeding out. Literally or figuratively, we're losing ourselves, our safety, our sanity, trying to hold together something that was never meant to be held. There's a woman in Minnesota named Christina Johnson. She survived severe domestic violence that escalated to attempted murder by her ex partner. Before the violence became lethal, Christina had hopes of a normal relationship. She loved him. She believed in him. She downplayed warning signs. She minimized emotional abuse. She tried to keep the family together. Sound familiar? As control and violence increased, isolation and fear followed. She stopped seeing friends. She stopped talking to family. She started walking on eggshells in her own home. And then one day, the violence escalated to a point where she knew if she didn't leave, she would die. But Christina made a choice. She reached out to a domestic violence shelter and hotline. She connected with advocates who helped her create a safety plan. She utilized legal protections and worked with local organizations to secure safer housing. She engaged in ongoing therapy and support groups to process trauma and rebuild self worth. And today, Christina is an advocate for domestic violence awareness, speaking in community forums and media features, helping other women recognize the signs of abuse and understand that their lives are worth fighting for, even if it means leaving everything behind. Christina's story reinforces what Shanté lived. Surviving is possible, and healing is an active, ongoing choice supported by community and faith. But it requires you to believe that your life is worth protecting, even when the person you love is the one threatening it. But let's go deeper. Survival is the beginning, not the end. Healing is a lifelong active process. Shante didn't just live, she committed to healing, therapy, emotional recovery, rebuilding trust, getting engaged, creating a future she loves, modeling, music, content creation. Survival is step one. Choosing to heal is the ongoing work. And this is where so many of us get stuck. We survive the thing, the abuse, the betrayal, the loss, the trauma. And we think, okay, I made it. I'm good. But we're not good. We're just breathing. We're still carrying the weight. We're still flinching at loud voices. We're still having nightmares. We're still afraid to trust. We're still operating in survival mode, even though the immediate danger is gone. There's a journalist named Regina L. Britt. She's a Black woman, an award winning writer, and she survived a brutal assault by her husband that nearly ended her life. She faced the emotional conflict of loving someone who harmed her and the social pressure to keep family business private. She struggled with PTSD, fear, and rebuilding her career and confidence after the attack. But Regina turned to counseling and therapeutic support to process complex trauma. She used writing and journalism as a healing tool, documenting her experience and connecting it to broader issues of domestic violence and systemic neglect. She broke silence and spoke publicly about her story, helping to destigmatize Black women seeking help. Today, Regina continues her work as a journalist, integrating advocacy into her professional life. Her survivor story has been featured in domestic violence awareness campaigns, empowering others to confront abuse. She demonstrates that survivors can rebuild careers, identities, and futures beyond what happened to them. Regina's experience reinforces what Shantae is living. Survival can be followed by professional success, creative expression, and a powerful public voice. But it requires intentional healing. It requires therapy. It requires community. It requires saying out loud, I need help. I'm not okay. And I'm going to do the work to get there. And here's what I want you to hear: healing is not a hobby, it's not something you do when you have time, it's not something you fit in between work and kids and church and everything else. Healing is a non negotiable commitment. You schedule therapy, you journal, you pray, you join survivor circles, you invest in your emotional, spiritual, and physical recovery the way you'd invest in a business or career, because your life, your peace, your future depends on it. Now, here's the part that might surprise you: you are allowed to build a joyful, ambitious life after trauma. Shantae is not defined by what happened to her on March 12th, 2011. She is defined by what she's building now. Black survivors, especially Black women, can be soft, sensual, ambitious, creative, and loved after violence. You can chase dreams, not just run from pain. Let me say that again. You can chase dreams, not just run from pain. There's a woman named Shonda. She's a Black woman and church leader who survived life threatening abuse from her partner and later established a ministry focused on healing and empowerment for survivors. As a woman of faith and community leader, Shonda struggled with shame, fear of judgment, and the false belief that God wanted her to stay and endure. She faced the trauma of leaving, including housing instability and the loss of financial support. But Shonda reached out secretly to advocates and eventually left the relationship for her safety. She deepened her faith by reframing it, understanding that God's grace covers her safety and freedom, not her suffering. She used ministry, support groups, and community events to help other survivors heal spiritually and emotionally. Today, Shonda has built a survivor centered ministry that addresses trauma, faith, and healing, creating a safe space for Black women to talk about violence openly. She models how faith can be a source of rescue and rebirth, not a reason to stay in danger. Shonda's story parallels Shanté's testimony. God's grace saw her through near death, and that same grace now fuels her healing and leadership. But here's what I need you to understand: God's grace doesn't just keep you alive, it gives you permission to thrive, to dream, to create, to love, to be soft, to be sensual, to be ambitious, to be free. And this is where we get to the heart of soft girl era. This space is the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. It's not a trend, it's a lifestyle rebellion, a deep exhale from the Superwoman script, a quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. And Shanté Green is living proof that you can enter your soft girl era after the worst night of your life. So, what does that look like practically? How do you move from survival to softness? How do you go from ICU to content creation, modeling, and music? How do you build a joyful, ambitious life after trauma? First, believe your intuition and act on the first sign of danger. If your spirit is telling you something's not right, don't wait for a near death moment to move. Reach out to a hotline, a friend, a therapist, a shelter, a faith leader who gets it. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't minimize the emotional abuse. Don't wait until there are knives in your back to decide your life is worth protecting. Second, treat your healing like a non negotiable commitment, not a hobby. Schedule therapy, journal, pray, join survivor circles. Don't just survive the incident. Invest in your emotional, spiritual, and physical recovery the way you'd invest in a business or career. Make it a priority. Make it sacred. Make it non negotiable. Third, create a safety and legacy plan, especially if you have children, and put concrete steps in place. Safe contacts, emergency bag, copies of important documents, and a vision for the life you're building beyond the trauma: your content, your art, your career, your joy, your soft girl era. Fourth, talk openly about domestic violence in our communities. Break the silence in Black professional spaces, churches, group chats, and boardrooms. Make it normal to say, I went through this, I survived, and I'm healing, so others know they are not alone. Because silence protects abusers, silence kills. And your voice, your story, your truth can save a life. And finally, give yourself permission to dream again, to create again, to love again, to be soft again, to chase your dreams, not just run from pain. Because you are not defined by what happened to you, you are defined by what you're building now. Shanté Green is building a modeling career. She's creating music. She's engaged. She's in therapy. She's healing actively. She's chasing her dreams in content creation. And she's doing it all by the grace of God. Not because she's superhuman, not because she's got it all figured out, but because she decided her life, her peace, her joy are worth fighting for. And that's what I want you to take with you today. Your life is worth fighting for, no matter how dark it gets. Survival is the beginning, not the end. Healing is a lifelong, active process, and you are allowed to build a joyful, ambitious life after trauma. You are allowed to be soft. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to dream. You are allowed to thrive. So here's my challenge to you. If you are in danger right now, I need you to reach out. Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Text a friend. Tell someone you trust. Your life is worth saving. If you have survived and you're stuck in survival mode, I need you to schedule therapy this week. Not when you have time, not when you feel ready. This week, because your healing is worth investing in. And if you know someone who's been through this, I need you to check on them, not with judgment, not with questions, just with love, just with presence, just with the reminder that they are not alone. Because here's the truth: we can't afford to lose one more Black woman to intimate partner violence. We can't afford to lose one more mother, one more sister, one more creator, one more dreamer. We can't afford to stay silent while our sisters are bleeding out, literally or figuratively, trying to hold together something that was never meant to be held. So let's make a different choice. Let's choose life. Let's choose healing. Let's choose softness. Let's choose joy. Let's choose our soft girl era. Not because the world finally gave us permission, but because we decided our peace, our healing, and our joy are non negotiable. And if Shanté Green can survive 12 stab wounds, lose half the blood in her body, and still build a life full of purpose, creativity, and love, then so can you. So can we. So let's do it together, starting today.